Let's see. Guys, if you're watching this as usual, I'm just waiting for YouTube to confirm, and then I'll bring Amanda with us as well. Just a second. Yeah, I think I
For YouTube.
got it. Yeah, I can hear myself and everything. So Amanda is here with us as well. Welcome to our episode number 13. And
Woo!
whew, and for you guys that likes numbers and everything, I quite like the number 13. My mom always liked the number 13 as well. I know we had the Friday 13th and all the stuff, but I think that's quite convenient as well, like to the topic that we're going to talk today, which is about, letting go and, because the 13 is kind of this, I don't know, mystical, understanding and so on. So the topic for today, just before we jumped into the call, we sort out some technical issues. I think the 13th was working behind it, which is fine. And we were sharing about, the beauty of letting go. And sometimes we can feel like kind of it's hard to let go, especially when we are like close to, someone that we love. It could be grief, for example, sadness. It could be a part of us. For example, it could be an identity. And I mentioned to Amanda as well, like even in nature, we can see some animals as well letting go completely of, what their skin used to be like, spiders, snakes, and if we go into our physiology as well, it's beautiful to see that our cells, and I don't know, the scientific behind, but I know that they change and they transform. They are like, I think every 7 years we don't have a single cell. Is that right, Amanda? Because you worked with physiology. About 7 years, not a single cell, not a single cell of our body is the same as before. It's just mind blowing to think about it as well. And then Amanda beautifully started with like, the seasons of, especially if we live in the, in the north and the very south, I would say. Like I lived in a tropical country, like in Brazil, which was like, you don't see the seasons so clearly, but you can still see the things. But if you live and you see it, even in films, if you don't live in a country like this, but you can see how much, all the trees they shred, and it's beautiful. Like now we're in autumn, so it's beautiful to see all the transformation. And then when the winter comes and it's kind of a bit darker, and you can see the days, the nights are longer, and so on. But then comes springs and kind of starts everything over again, and it flourish and brings up all the beauty that it has, and then has all the warmth that the summer brings with it. And then we go back into the cycle over again. And we see that on day and night and winter and summer and everything that we have in our lives as well. And of course, we can go deeper into, we have our great grandparents that are not here for most of us anymore, then grandparents and parents, and then our generation, and then, our nephews, kids, and so on. And we are transitioning into this period, and that's the transformation. So that's
Yeah.
the topic. I know it's a big one, but we're going to have fun with it. Thank you, Amanda, for bringing that up.
Oh, gee, and again, our catchphrase. I love that. I just
Yeah,
you.
everyone's there. I love that. You're
I
gonna
love that. Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? I love the number 13 too. I think being a bit of a white witch as well. And also, as we were saying, the letting go, it's the seasonal thing, isn't it? And there are lots of little seasons happening. We have yearly seasons, monthly seasons, daily seasons. And we're the same within ourselves as well. We have lots of different cycles going on of things dissolving from our lives. And that dissolution allows the space and the energy for the new to come in. It's really normal. And as you're saying, I love that when you were about snakes and spiders and frogs and butterflies, because they don't have any thoughts around it. They just let it happen. But of course, because we've developed a consciousness and an ego and an identity, sometimes the ego can have beliefs and ideas around when something's dissolving to allow the new. And it can find the dissolution of things, the dissolving of things, quite painful sometimes. But it's really important. It's said about Mother Nature. I mean, she's wonderful at this. She knows when there's time for things to be dissolved, there's time for things to come through, and it allows the new to come in as well. And I think when we have an understanding of when we think something's dissolving from my life, and no matter what it is, as you say, whether it's a person, a relationship, a situation, work, something physical, even a pattern that we've had that we know isn't even serving us, we've got used to that pattern and we think, who will I be if that pattern dissolves? That can be quite a scary one as well, and we get defensive about that. And also, I think sometimes the letting go has been a little bit confused with letting go of parts of ourselves that maybe we have abandoned already. So sometimes we understand that when we say let go, we're just letting go of anything that isn't matching our evolution of our higher self coming through, the alchemy of darkness turning to light. And we're physically not going anywhere, but we're energetically and consciously evolving, aren't we, to a place of more light, it's more unity, it's more loving, it's wisdom, it's compassion, it's empathy, it's kindness, but it's wisdom and it's discernment and it's strong and it's powerful from within. And we can say, can't we, that anything within me that isn't matching that, I invite it to join me, come with me on this journey. And we also respect free will. So if there's anything in our life that's saying, I don't want to return to the light, I don't want to come with you on this journey, you say, that's absolutely fine, I respect that. But equally, it's self-respect and dignity. It's okay for me to carry on with this journey. As we've said before, we either lead the way or invite people to come with us. And if they don't want to, they don't have to. Any aspects of ourselves that don't want to, but like we shared yesterday, that part of me that got handed back, and it is being slowly returned back into light, but that's not in my hands anymore. And I think, Gina, we always have a bit of a chat about how was your day, what you've been up to, and love trees. And so as I'm looking at the trees around me, as I'm sort of putting the garden to bed for winter, a big part of that is sweeping up the leaves, put them in the recycling, making sure you leave enough outside for nature for its food and habitats over the winter, but also knowing there was quite a lot to be cleared away. And it's when we start to live from that place within, that place of calm and relaxation and connecting to who we are, and we realize there are parts of ourselves maybe we have abandoned, and it will say, don't let me go anymore. And we realize, oh, that's the part we need to bring back into our hearts and nourish and bring with us. And it's that subtle understanding of the bits that we need to bring back and the parts that we're saying, actually, it's okay. And life adores us, and life is always working for us. So, and again, sometimes the separated ego can sort of think, well, I'm being punished for that, or that's been taken away from me, therefore I'm doing something wrong. And no matter what happens, it's always life's way of saying, we're creating a situation now, always for your higher consciousness. So if this loss occurs, it's going to force you to look at the patterns that are creating a situation that maybe you don't want, and also to force you to look within and go within. So nothing's ever a punishment. It's always an invitation to see something that we've not been able to see before. And you know, I've shared a lot about that recently. And then, you know, we know what to do. We know that as more light comes in, anything that isn't light will be even more obvious. So there's nothing wrong in seeing parts of us that aren't the light yet, or aren't worthiness or loving or self-loving. And we can shed what needs to be shared. And then we can bring in the parts of ourselves that maybe we didn't know we'd abandoned. But you'll just start to know the subtle difference of what needs to be let go of and what needs to be embraced, parts of ourselves that have maybe been a little bit fractured. Some people call it soul retrieval. There's all different names. I love all of those. But it is time for us to evolve consciously. And as I do that, oh, there's just a lightness. There is a feeling of rising. There's a feeling of you can breathe. The air feels cleaner. It feels more crystalline. feels more unity, it feels more loving, it's more compassionate, but it feels stronger. Um, and it is that seasonal thing. And then as things dissolve, there will always be then a time of new birth, creation. And that's when parts of ourselves can change for the better, for the new to come in, for our light selves to more inhabit our bodies. And that is new. We are almost a new species coming into earth. Some people calling it, the human angel, human spiritus, where there is so much more light, divine consciousness inhabiting our bodies. But that makes it very practical. It just means that when you're cooking your beans and toast for tea, you walk into the shops, you're meeting your friends for coffee, you wondering what to wear, you're dancing, you're doing the things that bring you joy. It's just that joyful, light-filled part of you that's observing that and experiencing that. So again, we're not saying that by more of that light consciousness coming in, that alignment or ascension or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, it has very physical, real applications to it. It doesn't mean we're all going to sit in a cave and hum, drink water, eat bread. Our souls want to really delight in being physical, but in a very liberated, loving, unity-based way, where all those old patterns of physical survival and fear, as we send those, it's a different dimension almost. Those patterns don't exist there. That's why you were saying about shedding our skin and metamorphosizing. The spider realizes it to grow, it has to come out of its old skin, because otherwise it would just stay stuck. And the spider, the frog, the butterfly, and we're at that stage as well, where we're realizing there are parts now that need to be left behind, and they're the parts that don't serve us anymore. The fear that don't serve us, the patterns, and we're not blaming those patterns. It's okay. I think almost we need to give ourselves permission to say, yeah, it's okay to change, it's okay to grow. There are going to be parts that are going to be kind of left behind to dissolve, but in that dissolution, it doesn't mean they can't change and then come with us. But that's where free will comes in.
I like, there's so much like, again, it's a very similar way that I usually take, the conversation from you, but there's so much that I can feel from what you said, but also there's some images and some ideas that came to my mind. And I would love to bring people as well that are watching, that you guys are probably getting some feelings from what Amanda is saying here. There will be some images that will come to your mind as well. And there will be things that you will resonate, and then of course we can jump into the topic, and I'll bring some of those things that came to me as well. Like, there is this idea of growth, and like, if you're not letting go of your skin, like for the spider, or I think lobster does that as well, every time it grows it gets to let go of the bigger part. Otherwise it becomes painful, it becomes that contraction that we were like talking as well. In several episodes we talk about this contraction, the pain that we have inside, on our chest, or different parts of our body, which is literally like, it's almost like if you had that shell around you. Ooh, you're growing. Are you gonna let it go, or are you gonna stay with it? You see what I mean? It's painful to stay there and to keep that old, kind of skin or shell around you, if you're becoming the next version of yourself, the next experience that you're gonna go. And that next experience is gonna become a shell again. It's gonna become a bit harder again. And then you let go of that again in order to grow as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like some of the image that came to me. And then also, and it's interesting when we talk about letting go, there is also the parts that we want to let go, and we're like I don't want to feel this feeling anymore. I don't want to to be attached to this identity. And there's almost like a resistance of why am I, I'm trying to get rid of it, and I know that the right time it's going to come. Do you see? And like, if you're becoming aware of it, it's almost like that skin is starting to feel a bit uncomfortable, and it might not detach straight away, but as soon as you allow nature to start to evolve and everything else, that skin can start kind of like dissolve, or can start kind of becomes easier, this disconnect. It's like what Amanda shared yesterday with the, that tumor idea, in the head and everything else. It's because it was ready kind of to detach as well. We just helped a little bit. We can kind of, we can ask for help and support and everything else to let it go. But if you look at, let's say, a lobster body, for example, and it's starting to grow, it kind of, it go quiet and goes kind of almost like on that nature of like going inside, allowing the, the shell to kind of dissolve and detach, and then you can come out of it and let it go. You don't need to carry that with you anymore, in that sense.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there is, there are things that we would love to keep it, like, oh, I love the colors on that shell. Do you see what I mean? I'd love to carry it, but there's new colors to come in, there's new ideas to come in. And I feel we can use this analogy for almost anything in our life. We're going to, as Amanda was sharing, there are a few things in my life that I can remember that I let it go of. Like, for example, my grandmother, which was very, very attached, very close to me, someone that I loved, and since I was raised up and everything else, and she passed away years ago. And it's not easy to forget, for example, and it's not that you get to forget or anything else. You can still love, you can go through a period of grieving, and you can still, connect with, the image that you have that person, or the energy of that person, and so on. And
Yeah.
so there are people that we love that we get to, let go, that they transform into something else. And then however we interpret that, and depending on what we believe on and so on. Then there is also professions, and like, I know I'm going through a transition period of, transforming. And the same way it happens every single time. If you have a career, and I mean, most of us will probably have experienced that as well. Like, I used to be, a student, and then from a student, then you start to go and you have a job, and then you start to create a new identity. So I'm a, I don't know, an admin assistant, for example, and then, or a library, I used to work in a library when I was a teenager, a library assistant, and then an admin. And then from an admin, I was working in a consulting company to help with the admin. And then, but you have to let it go. And then I worked in a bank, and then I became a data analyst. And then you kind of take that new shell on, and you're like, oh, I'm a data analyst. I like this thing and everything. And until that new shell kind of 2, 3 years later was like, there's something uncomfortable here. There's something else. And you literally, that's when I decided to leave Brazil and come to the UK. And you let go a lot of stuff in that, especially when you move places. And if you bring that image of the lobster now, again, it's almost like I was shredding, allowing that shell to come off. And then you come naked from there, like, from, there is no protection, there is no, oh, the shell that was protecting me is not there anymore. Then you feel insecure, and what do I do? And you're exploring new areas, and then you move to a new country, like for myself, and then you start kind of like, it's a new kind of shell start to become hardened, and you start to, oh, there's a new identity. And then I was like, okay, a wait, a bartender, a waiter, then assistant manager, and then you're like general manager, and that hard thing then is there, like, oh, I'm a general manager. I liked, your ego likes that type of thing. And then you move on and you go for the next stage, which is like, oh, it's been kind of, on this case, it was a different cycle, it was 7 years. It's like, there's something here again. It feels, constricted in there. It feels that something gets to change. And then that's when you let go again. And it's interesting, the feeling of vulnerability as well. All that thing that was protecting you,
Yeah.
it's now kind of out. And if you, it's not that you forget the memory of it, that you had it and everything else, but you get to let go of that identity, or that, shell that you had again, into to the new. And then you explore new seas, new places, and then there comes a new one. And then for me, in that case, there was like, coaching, and then so on, as the transformation again. And I can feel again, the thing that we've been talking so much on these episodes as well, is that contraction, that restriction. It feels like something gets to change, we get to let go. And it's not, and it's not about resisting it. It's not about not being with it. It's just literally just being with it, allowing nature to detach that from you, that shell, and then you can come out. It will be, vulnerable. It will feel strange because you don't have that protection around you, but you know that there will be a new, exciting place and things that will come up to you again.
Oh, I love that. And it's lovely hearing all about your journeys as well. So that was really interesting. Well, see, I love that. And it's just what you were saying as well, just yeah, highlighting what you were saying. When we think about letting go, we tend to think of loss, but actually letting go is allowing a transformation and change, isn't it? So in terms of energy, energy never dies. All energy can do is change form. So, we're the same, aren't we? So we think something's being letting go, but actually it's just allowing a change to happen, a transformation. Um, and either it gets transformed within us and integrated within us, or it's an energy that might go back out there and it's returned to source, so it can be recycled into a life force energy again that supports life and it's positive. And I was just thinking, as you were saying, then talking about your different cycles within work, and everything that you did gave you something actually to take with the next thing, didn't it? So you had to be the librarian, that you learned so much that took you into the next chapter, and each chapter gave you something to move to the next thing, didn't it? So, and if you think about the trees, the leaves fall off, but actually the leaves just get beautifully reabsorbed back into the soil around the tree. The leaves get broken down, the the nitrogens and all those sort of things get reabsorbed back into the tree. So nothing gets lost. Nothing gets lost. Nothing's ever wasted. There's never a loss. There's never a mistake. Nothing gets lost. Nothing's ever a waste. Nothing is. It's always the reason for it. There's always a good thing behind it. And I think when you can just integrate that into a thought process, I think it can be quite liberating. And also, when we change as well in an external level, it is quite vulnerable, because the ego will say, well, I don't know who I am. I'm changing. I can feel the constriction. I know I need to change. And that's when it's time that, we reassure those parts of ourselves, that positive self-talk, the self-partnering, the self-parenting. When we go through a big change, like you were saying, Jean, you felt the contraction of, I don't know why, but I've just got to move to the UK, and you did it. And I know a lot of your family said, wow. And you just said, look, it was so strong. I just had to do it. That was really courageous, wasn't it? You listened to your soul's calling. And I think the more we live from our heart-centered self, we take the time and do our breathing, we find there is that inner strength. We realize we are so much more than the external lives that we're living and the roles that we play and the different careers or the different relationships, the different chapters. I mean, we were watching a film last night and there was a character, a knight in it, and he was talking to an old crone. And we were laughing, saying, I think I'm an old crone now. We're sort of laughing about what the definition of an old crone is in terms of, pastimes and things. And we're sort of laughing, going, hey, you old crone. And I was like, yeah. And I was kind of embracing it and laughing. And even just like you say, as a chapter, as a woman, and as a man, you go through these different chapters in your life. And when you're able to embrace the new, honor what's going, we honor what's being transformed from our life. And I say we use the word letting go, but really what we're talking about is allowing a transformation, isn't it? An integration, an embodying of the new. And I love your analogy of the lobster, because in the spider, there is that short time where, as the old skin's gone, that new skin hasn't hardened yet. So it can feel, but it knows, it just goes within. It doesn't, and that's what we're saying as well. There's cycles of almost, you realize there's times when you feel like you want to be a lot more. And there's times when we're very out there, very action. There's times when we come in And we just trust that the more you spend being heart-centered in that calm space, connecting with that presence, that inner you, the you that feels like the best parent, the best friend, the best brother or sister, the best work colleague you've ever had, um, you can self-talk, you can reassure you that part of you that's forgotten it so much more, that it thinks it is, but I'm a librarian in Brazil, and who this I don't know the UK, and your soul, that higher you, that presence was able to shine within you enough to say to you, I've got you, you're okay, this is right, it's part of your soul's journey, I've got you back, don't worry, it's okay to feel vulnerable. That's when we just perhaps sometimes just, yeah, we do go a little bit more within. I don't mean retraction in a we're scared of the world way, that's a different thing. But just, and I know I've just gone through that huge time of inner transformation and external transformation, and that Gina was very much with me on that. And I knew in the end I had to honor that. I had to honor that thing that I had to do. Almost that skin was being shed, and all sorts of identities were transformed and integrated. And but then a strengthening of others, a real affirmation of, I think I've always said the mother energy is so strong in my soul. It's such a strong thing for me. And it was a wonderful thing. As I took a bit of time out, I was really able to really embody the mother role for me, and not just with my own children, in lots of different ways as well, and how important that is to Mother Earth, the nurturing, the compassion. But there's a strength in that. When we talk about love, sometimes ego can get confused with a sort of altruistic love, and we realize love is actually very strong and it's very wise, and it does the right thing even when it can seem to the others that it's not. So it's losing those patterns again, isn't it? And whatever patterns manifesting is, it can be people pleasing, vibrational codependency, rescuing, fixing. So shedding those identities are often about shedding our conditioned patternings as well, isn't it? You know, I think we've talked about.
Yeah, no, I was just saying with the shedding, like as you mentioning, like conditioning patterns as well. Like, and I was just sharing just before we jumped into the call, and these things, guys, I mean, for you that are watching, it's happening to us all the time. It's not just we have big moments where, you know, you can remember, and you know, like when you leave college, when you, I don't know, leave your parents' house, when you move job, there are marks in our life, but they are happening every single moment as well. Like there is, you know, when you wake up and you fall asleep and everything, and there are some patterns as well that goes along the process. And last week I shared about the, you know, the contraction that I had about money, and then, you know, we had a work together as well with Amanda afterwards as well. And the same thing that, you know, generated the triggers that let me, you know, really feel the pain, or feel, you know, the contraction and so on. This time, because, you know, you go within and you pay attention, and I've done the same things, and even, you know, the same place, go to the same thing place where the trigger was happening, and it's so much lighter because you embrace that, because you gone there and you felt what you got to feel, and then it's transformed. And if he haven't transformed, and even if he didn't transform, let's say completely, and there were residuals there and everything, it's again a chance to, oh, there is something here that I couldn't see before. There is something that it's not as clean, you know, yet as I would wish it to be. And
Yeah.
those triggers can be anything. It could be like, for me, it was like money and, you know, talking to banks and everything. For other people might be, you know, I don't know, like a picture that you've seen from someone that you love, or something that we shared in one of the episodes with Armando, when someone actually gives you a compliment, and that's actually become a trigger to you see to yourself. It's like, how
Yeah.
courageous are you? Do you know how much courage you have to do this in the morning when your hair is like, my hair today is a mess, and you carry on doing it? Do you see? Yeah.
No,
But the
yeah,
gifts on those triggers are just, you know, if we allow it to transform, to bring it to light, to, to take, and when we talk about bringing it to light, there are ways you can, try, the open eye meditation. You can, seek help from a therapist. You can use some different techniques. We were talking, I think, off camera yesterday about, EFT, or emotional freedom technique, that we used before. There's several different ways that you can actually not escape from it or resist it, but really dive in into it and allow the transformation that, yeah, the let it go, but the transformation of it to happen, to transmute, to alchemize, like we're using, the alchemy chat anyway. Yeah.
And also, I love that, Jean, because we're saying that even this is where the Matt Kahn comes in which I just, oh, he's just such a spiritual teacher, and also a psychologist as well, understanding the energy that the alchemy is, if we understand it, is on an energetic level, so on a quantum level. That's where the shift really occurs. There's a quantum energetic shift, and also, that fear of resistance can be, but I shouldn't be feeling like this. I've done lots of work on this. I shouldn't still have. And we can even say to that, the self partner, we can say to that part of ourselves, it's okay, honey. I get that you're scared. It's all right. Tell me about it. But how can I help you? Let me show you your heart. Let me bring you home. Let me reassure you. What do you need? So you can say, I wish I didn't feel resistance around this. And that opens it up to kind of reprograms the subconscious mind to have a more positive opening up around whether it's money, relationships, career, whatever it is, because there is such an energetic shift. We reprogram our subconscious mind, we're reprogramming our body. It is mind, body, and soul. The three are very integrated, aren't they? And we're saying that even in that resistance, or I don't know what to do, I've tried so much with this, and I've tried all these different things, it's not going. You can say, may I be able to change this? Don't know how, but I'm open. And that's when life will say, they're open to transforming this, and they will bring things into your life to help. And that's where you realize I'm not on my own having to transform myself all the time. There is so much support, and that's when we go within and do the inner healing, and we can say to ourselves, any part that's scared, or it's okay, what do you need? And it might say, maybe as a child it wasn't reassured enough that it was safe, so we can say, I don't feel safe, and we can say to it, it's okay, honey, you're safe to do this, you're safe to be here, it's okay. And then maybe whatever emotional wound has come up from that can be healed and transformed. So we can take care of all aspects of ourselves, and by beautifully sort of working together. But when we do any sort of conscious shifting or changing or evolution or integration, embodying, when we do it from that calm place, when we're relaxed, come out of our head, go into our body space, go into our heart space, we can feel that place there that feels more nurturing, and we can still feel the contraction. That contraction's there, we can still have the thought, but it's from this place that the change can occur. We go into theta brainwaves, which we talked about at the beginning, and in that parasympathetic nervous system, our brains get reprogrammed. It's the energy, it's the system it can reprogram in. We can integrate and change emotions, old emotions, patterns, and in doing so, we can allow more of our light being presence to come in, which allows more wisdom and calm naturally. So I love your analogy of the snake and the spider. It's just the allowing of that. It's not saying, I think I'm shedding a skin at the minute. Okay, I was going to be with that.
As you were saying, I think it's beautiful as well for people to realize that you don't need, I mean, this is the beauty as well. Of course, the lobster is there, and it's allowing it to happen, but there is some help from the water, almost like, coming through and helping to shred it. And you can use your intention to seek help for that. And I'm saying, that
Yeah.
help can come from like one. I think the beautiful thing about life and everything that we're talking about here in terms of letting go, first is that awareness of like, oh, something feels a bit constrictive here, that shell, it's becoming a bit uncomfortable to stay with it, or a thought that came up, or trigger, it could be a relationship that you're letting go, it could be a business that you're letting go, can be, I don't know, a thought that you're letting go, it can be a memory that you're letting go, can be anything that is coming to you in that sense, an image of yourself, what I mean, that you see that it's feeling uncomfortable, it's not right. And it's just like, it's the beauty that Amanda was just saying, the connection between body, mind, and soul, where body can feel it. You can feel it. When you have a heart broken, like that, you let go. I know I leave that, and I know, we know that. And when you lose someone that you love, or grieve, or however, if it's a breakup, or you feel that in your body, there is no way you don't feel that. That's, it's your body telling there is transformation here. And then there is courage of, I need help with this, can you, and it could be starting from yourself, asking
Yeah.
to yourself,
Yeah.
can you help me, because this is painful, this is uncomfortable, can you help me to sort it out, rather than, I don't want to look at it or anything else, it's just, can you help me, can you help me to seek for help as well. It could be as simple as that. Can you help me to find the right person to talk to? Can you, or even in your mind, you can start bringing, can I, open that, what we spoke before, that council table. Imagine you're walking into a room and you open that room and it's empty at the moment, but you can invite anyone that you want. Guys, I got this problem, and like, let's open the door and let that council start to come in. Do you see, like, who do I want in here? And I'm joking, like it could be Beyonce, like we were talking about. Let
Yeah.
Lucy come in if you want to. Let your dad come in, or your grandmother, or a spiritual guide that you believe on, that, or an angel, or Jesus, or Allah, whichever it is. Allow those, that support to come into you if you want, if that feels good. And then you can go to a level deeper if you want, to the physical world, and start, guys, this is painful. And then, to find the right person outside of you as well. It could be a therapist, could be a friend, where you can start kind of, look, there's something here. I just need a space to, talk and to allow, and so on. And then see, and then it might be that that friend might trigger you even more, which is fine. Or it might be that someone that's making you connect with yourself and to bring that calmness as well.
Yeah.
The key thing, where I wanted to just put a point is like, when that contraction happens, when that physical feeling that you have, which could be anxiety, stress, it could be depression, it could be grief, it could be sadness, it could be whatever, there is a gift in it. The
Yeah.
only thing that we get to do is just like, can you help me
Yeah.
for yourself? Can you help me to see things? And the beautiful thing about our mind as well, it's a machine that it works to help you once you start putting it. It loves a goal setting, it loves a target, which is like, look, and that, for example, from physical things, if you're looking for a new car, and you all have that comparison before. I want a new, I don't know, red BMW, and you start seeing, because your mind will help you to see that red BMW there. And if you're asking for help, which is like someone that can help me, you're going to start seeing help around you, literally just around you, in that sense. And it could be in you, and it could be outside of you as well, in that sense.
I love that, Junior, because that's so important, isn't it? Because I think sometimes when we've been full of fear, and whenever that fear is brought up, loss, separation, abandonment, whatever it is, fear of failure, whatever it brings up, it is a fear, isn't it? And the fear can often be, I just don't know what to do about this. I feel so alone with this. I feel so isolated. And if she said, when we start opening up and saying, I've got this fear and I actually don't know what to do. I actually don't know how to transform this. I don't know how to heal this. And that's when we put it out there, don't we? Our mind clocks onto, I'm seeking help. And that's when life will bring it to us. And our subconscious mind, as you've said, starts looking for, I need evidence of help and support. and it will start seeing it. It will see things it couldn't see before. So it might be that, as you say, you get guided to find an external source, or even it might be you think, I remember doing so, as somebody said, go within, go into that space, and I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember being in that space and holding that energy. I wonder if I could try that. I wonder if I could practice that. Or maybe this is so new to me. I need an external energy just to guide me and help me a little bit more till I'm solid with it. And we say it's that constant thing, isn't it? We're not on our own with any fear. Life always wants to help us with it. And as you say, we've all got the tools within us, but I wasn't taught the tools as a child. I didn't know about emotional well-being. I didn't know about emotional intelligence. I didn't understand resilience. I didn't understand any of that. It used to really perplex me. Why were people around me so confident and self-assured? And I didn't get why I wasn't. And that's been my life journey to understand that and then how to heal that. So I realized, so blessed all those things happened for me to heal those patterns. So as you say, I asked for help. Like, I don't know how to do this. I know there's a way to do this, but I don't know how. So I'm asking to be shown. I'm asking for guidance. I'm asking for that. And slowly but surely, doing all the things we're talking about, it comes to you, doesn't it? And I've had lots of external teachers along the way, and there's still like Matt Kahn and the different people like Tolle. There's still people I will read and listen to, because it's just that confirmation, that guidance.
And I feel, Amanda, it's okay. It's like, I know that we can go all to this, to the spiritual world. I know the inner power and everything, but we're here to interact. We're here to learn from each other. We're here to, of course, we can have, the connection from, our own power and our source and everything else. But there's nothing wrong when interacting, connecting to exchange, because it's still source anyway, because it's the core of it anyway, in that sense.
And when that interaction is purely in a healthy, loving way, isn't it? That person comes to you and says, I need some guidance, or I just need a friendly ear. And when that guidance, when there's no need or ego in that as well, it's very healthy, isn't it? Sometimes we all need nurturing. Sometimes you do need someone to just put their arms around you and say, it's going to be okay. That's what part of being here. That's what kindness is, isn't it? And compassion. And then when that's very healthy, it's always nurturing and positive and loving, isn't it? And even if, as you say, when you go to someone for help and maybe they trigger you, you were both brought together again for both parties to go, oh, something got triggered in me, or just in one person. It's everything happens for a beautiful reason, doesn't it? And yeah, human interaction, when it's done from that loving, unconditional place, and we were sharing as well that as the more work we've done, a lot of our relationships have deepened and blossomed and become even more intimate, even more loving, even more open, even more authentic. I don't know about you, I've certainly noticed this. Relationships have intensely blossomed. And as we said, maybe there were some relationships that, as we've elevated, they haven't been able to match that or join us in a place of self-dignity and love. And then maybe there has to be a shedding of something, but on an energetic level, there isn't any loss. We're always connected. So I think I like that. I know that when there's a loss in my life, I know that on an energetic level, it's never gone. I'm always connected, and that's very comforting to me. And it seems to calm and comfort that part of my mind that will say, but it's going. And I will say, well, it's physically changing form, but that will never leave you. You can always honor what that was. And it just means that something new is going to come in to either a change, that very thing's going to change, or something is going to appear to leave your life to make way for the new. So I know when I feel a contraction now, and bless her, when Junior was sharing his, a little part of me was sort of, it's exciting because there's a potential for change and growth and integration and embodying. So I would never be that insensitive if someone came to me with a huge contraction. Go, oh, this is brilliant. You're going to change, and you wouldn't, you can have, some compassion, but I think it's when we see things from that different perspective, isn't it? It allows us to know that it's always about positive growth and change, even when it's painful.
Absolutely. I think we can end there. I'm not going to add too much more. I mean, I want to keep our episodes are becoming a little bit longer and longer as we go along. But guys, stay with us. I mean, it's a natural process. We are actually allowing it to come through. Of course, I'll keep eye on the time as well on the next ones as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I just want to allow that feeling and that connection to come through, and allowing the flow from both of us to to come as it feels good to do so anyway. And I just want to say a massive thank you for you guys to be watching. If there is anything that you feel from this episode that can help you to let go of something, what I want you to send to you is like, that courage for actually to go in and then feel it and ask for help. And you can ask for yourself. Of course, you can send us a message here on the comments, or you can, try to reach out into our, social media and something, or it might be someone around you, do you see? Or it might be something inside of you as well. But it's just that awareness. If there is stuff that you get to shed or you get to let go, and it feels a bit uncomfortable, just know that you can do it because you've done it before. And I'm not saying even from my example, because you have done it several times, I can guarantee to you, and you will do it again. So yeah,
Absolutely, we're here. You're not on your own with this, and yeah, it's whatever's happening, whatever you're going through, we're here in this space with you now, even if this is a recording.
yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to hear and share that with you.
Thank you so much for being here. Have an awesome day wherever you are, and I'll see you guys on the next episode as well.
Thank you. Lots of love. Bye.